All right, so the next type of problem will be a two-sample t-test interval for a mean, where we have two sets of means. And so it'll be two different lists, or two different sets of means and standard deviations. And for this one, we are comparing a disc jockey is wondering if the number of beats per minute in dance is lower than in top 200 songs. So we got a random sample of each, and it's listed right here. These are for our dance songs. We have this list, and for this list of top 200 songs, we have the beats per minute for those as well. So you get two different lists like this. Or you could just get means and standard deviations listed like right here. I had to go calculate these using this raw data right there, and I'm going to show you how to do that in Stapplet right now. So pull up Stapplet, and this is going to be a two-sample t-test for a mean. Since I have two different samples and I need to type them in, this one has raw data. Sometimes you'll just have the mean and deviation like that, but this one has raw data. And I've got the raw data in right here, and I called it beats per minute, and I have dance, and I put in all of the raw data for dance right there, and I put in all the raw data for top 200. So if you need to, go back and grab all that info and type it in, and pause the video right now until you have everything typed in like I do right here. Alright, so once you have everything typed in, go ahead and begin analysis. And this is where I got my information for the mean, the n, the mean, and the standard deviation. And you'll see them right there. For the dance, I gave it the notation D. N for the dance is 18. The mean for the dance is 119.7222. And the standard deviation is 1.7424. So you see where I got my information from. And the next thing I want to calculate is the t-value and the p-value. You see them down there, the t-value and p-value, but I'm going to show you how I got them. So our theory was that the first set of data we had is dance, and the second one is top 200, and dance has less beats per minute. So if dance had less, then my HO would be that it would be less than 0, right? Because it would be dance minus top 200, mu1 minus mu2. Dance minus top 200 should be less than 0. If you would have accidentally put top 200 first and then dance, you'd have had to do greater than. You'd have been proven that top 200 is actually greater than dance. But they asked in the question to prove that dance is less than top 200. So put the dance first when you list them and make it less than. You'd get the same numbers if you did greater than. Some other stuff would be a little bit different, but you'd get the same numbers for the p-value. So let's go ahead and press enter, and let's see what we get here. So there is my t-value and my p-value, and you'll see it matches what I got right there. Now what conclusion would I come to here? Since I had a significance level of 0.05, with a p-value of 0.788, that is greater than 0.05. So therefore we fail to reject the HO. We don't have convincing evidence that dance has lower beats per minute than top 200. You see me, I wrote out the HO and HA right here. That for HO, when you subtract them, you should get 0 because they're the same, right? And for HA, when you subtract them, you should get less than 0 because dance should be smaller than top 200. So when you subtract them, you should get a negative number. All right. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate my confidence interval by starting with T star. And it's going to be T star at this degrees of freedom. So watch, I'm going to copy that degrees of freedom right there and go over to T distribution again. Now remember, if you need to, I would keep that tab up, this T distribution tab. Remember, it's always the bottom one right there. And paste that degrees of freedom in there. And then you do center. So it's always the bottom of each of those options. And what interval do we want here? We're doing less than, so it's one-tailed. And so we're going to do a 90%, right? Because you're going to double that 0.05 to 90%, 0.90. And calculate, and I get 1.6972. 1.6972. And you'll see that my t-value is less than the t-score in terms of just how big it is. The 1.4 is less than 1.69, which tells me it's inside the interval of t-star. Because if you think of t-star as an interval from negative 1.69 to 1.69, 1.44 would be in there. It's inside the interval. Therefore, that's not convincing evidence as well. We would fail to reject HO. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate SE. And SE is going to be equal to the square root, and it's up here, the formula, of S1 squared plus S2 squared, S1 squared over N plus S2 squared over N. And so I'm going to have those numbers right there. So 1.7424 squared over N plus 1.7328 squared. Oh, and N is 18 on that one. Over 15 on that one. So I need to calculate that SE, and let's see what we get for SE. So let me bring up Desmos Scientific Calculator. Let's pull that up. And let's see what we get for the scientific calculator here. I'm going to do square root, and then I'm going to start a fraction like that and get 1.7424, and then this little square button right there, over 18. And watch, I'm going to arrow over and stay inside there. And do that plus like that. And then do another fraction. 1.7328 squared over 15. And I get 0.6073. 0.6073. And so my ME would be equal to T star times SE, which would be 0.60, oops, let me put the T star first, 1.6972 times 0.6073 is equal to, and let's do that, 1.6972 in the calculator here. So I'm going to take that number and calculate it times 1.6972, which was the t-value I got, and I get 1.0307. 1.0307. Would be my ME. And there's my SE. And there's my ME. And then my confidence interval for 90%. I would go back into my calculations here and just go to the confidence interval and set it at 90%. And there's my confidence interval from a negative 1.9056 to 0.15. So let's put that in. Negative 1.9056 to 0.15 would be my confidence interval at 90%. And since 0 is in the interval, we fail to reject HO. So I'm 90% confident the true value is in that interval, and since 0 is in that interval, I do not have convincing evidence that the dance beats per minute are lower than the top 200, and it's the same conclusion I came to with the T star versus T, and the same conclusion I came to with the p-value versus the significance level. So that is my final answer for a 2-sample t-test and interval for a mean.